Hello, y'all. All right, I think I'm recording both places. Hello, everyone. I'm Leslie with Elemental. This is a little bit different of a podcast episode than we've done before. Usually it's Matt and me or Matt and me and a guest, and this time it'll be just me. So thank you so much for joining me today. It'll be this podcast recording was inspired by a dear friend named Casey Fanton. She's a member of the Elemental community. I've known her for a long time just as entrepreneurs, creatives. She's done a lot of the headshots that you see on our website. And Casey just launched her own podcast called Beyond the Frame. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend. I'll put it in the show notes. But Casey knew that we had just hosted a spring retreat and had requested to hear a podcast episode about what we experienced. And so thank you, Casey, for suggesting this and inspiring this podcast episode. I know one of the last podcasts we did was with CJ Jacobs, who is also a dear friend, collaborator, and who's attended our retreats. And so we were able to talk about the power from her experience. But wanted to take a moment here just to share about my experience as a facilitator because I know for me and Matt, we both experienced so much transformation just being guides and being witness to and participating in these retreat experiences. And so wanted to share a little bit about that with y'all today. So we'll kind of go through the inspiration for our retreats that we do, just in general, inspiration for the spring retreat, talk a little bit about what we did. And if you're interested in joining a retreat, I'll talk about what to expect for what we've got coming up. So first, setting the kind of digging into the why of retreats. I know, whenever we're working with clients or even talking to people just in general conversation, I know a lot of the conversation comes back to our why, our purpose, our reason for doing something, right? And this also it's I believe that when you know your why, you then all of the hows, the whens, the whats, the whos, all of that kind of falls into place. And we talked about that with Annie Mercedes, who was also on our podcast, when she had talked about the importance of why. So our why for hosting retreats and our mission with Elemental really is to create safe spaces for people to engage in courageous conversation and experience personal transformation. So, courageous conversation is not necessarily with other people, although it can be. It's more about the courageous conversation and questions that you are able to answer for yourself, for and with yourself. So, several years ago, Matt and I we had just started doing life together, and we were both in a place in our lives where a lot of things had just changed. It was after the pandemic, and we had both had businesses. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 10 years now. He's been an entrepreneur for between 25 and 30 years. And we were transitioning from the businesses that we had before, but still maintained a lot of the identities of who we were in that process. But really, we were just in a place of figuring out, okay, what's next? And what do I want? And what do we want together? And do we want anything together? And is this the right path? And what is the path? And where does it start? And, all these things. And so we decided to create our own retreat. We found a place in the forest in Old Fort, North Carolina. Indigo Nature Retreat. If you've been following us for a while, then I'm sure you've heard us talk about Indigo. It's a very, very dear, special place to us. But we booked I think it was a 4-night stay in one of the tiny cabins. Ended up being the only people there for that particular week. I think maybe one other person stayed for our final night in one of the cabins, but it was this magical experience, and it was such a powerful way for us to really delve into some of those bigger questions because we were in this beautiful environment. We were most importantly, too, we were in a different environment than what we were used to being in, which I think can be so helpful in helping us and allowing us to quiet the noise around us, minimize distraction, and really see and hear ourselves in a new light, in a new way. And so carving out the time finding a location that felt good and having the structure of an itinerary. Because y'all, if you know me, you also know that planning is one of my love languages. So I'll create a beautiful itinerary, even for personal things I'm doing in my free time. So y'all know I had one for this retreat. And we had this itinerary for Matt and I for 4 days. We'd purchased all of our meals, so it was as if, or all of our food to be able to prepare meals. And so we really had it all planned out as if we were hosting a retreat for other people. And one of the other things we did was we hired someone to come in and do some facilitated breath work, and a conversation piece. We did a sacred waterfall hike and cold water immersion. We did all of that with our now dear friend Alex Garcia, who we met through Indigo. His parents own and run Indigo, and they together have created just the most beautiful space. And Alex, really, we had him come in, I think, on our third day. So we'd had enough time to be by ourselves. And then bringing in that third party to come in and just help guide us through this experience was so important to us. And also helped us to feel held and seen and supported in the process as well. So we went through this process with Alex, and it was really incredible. We got outside of our comfort zone. I would have not done a lot of the things that we did on that in that experience on my own, and it was really, really powerful. And if you can hear, I'm in New Harmony right now, and it's time for the weekly storm siren. So if you can hear that, I apologize. If you can't, then we'll carry on. Um, but that retreat experience was so impactful for both Matt and I. And, we went through that on our own, but we also knew from our previous experience and our businesses and just our work in community development, the power of being in community with other people. And so we were inspired and could feel the impact and power of what it would mean for us to create an experience, a gathering, a retreat similar to that, but to do it with other people. And so that was the start and inspiration for us to host our own retreats, and has largely been the inspiration for a lot of the work that we do, is that we need it. We needed it. And we know that other people need it too. And at the time that we started it, and even now, there's sometimes not enough resources for us and for people to be in spaces where they can be truly themselves or feel safe enough to express themselves in ways that feels authentic to them. So that was the why. And then for this past retreat, the spring retreat, we held that in New Harmony. And so Matt and I have a home base in New Harmony, Indiana. It's a town of about 800 people, situated along the Wabash River. And otherwise, we live part-time in a van. So whenever we're here, it's a really special time. We love to be around our people. And we love hosting retreats in New Harmony, getting people into town just to experience what this town has to offer. We hosted the the retreat at the Barn Abbey. It's a very minimalistic venue, and it's really charming. We love hosting gatherings there. The main gathering room, the living room, has these large windows that you can look out and just see trees. You can see the cornfields. You can see the Wabash River. There's also a sculpture called Shalev that's right there, which is a really, really powerful piece that we invite participants to connect with throughout their time there. And it's a piece that really helps hone in on the power of perspective, changing our perspective, and embracing the power of our own personal transformation. So this retreat in particular was called the spring retreat, right? But and we had loosely themed aliveness and vitality, just to tie into the season. We like to really connect the theme and content of what we're doing to the seasons themselves. And as far as the rest of the content, y'all, um, we don't actually create it until we're a few weeks out from the retreat, after we've had a chance to meet everyone that's coming. So before every retreat that we do a 30-minute onboarding session, a virtual session with all of the participants. So that way we can meet them, we can answer any questions. We go through what to expect, we go through the itinerary, talk about what to pack. talk about their why for being there. And we use that information, just feeling their energy, learning about what it is that they're seeking, and we use that to inform the work that we're doing. So all of the retreats that we do will have some kind of inventory component. So some of it is very seasonal related. Most often it is, especially for our winter retreat and then for the spring retreat. We have a resilient retreat coming up, and that one will take into account the seasons, but will be a little less focused. But we'll certainly have an inventory component. And so that inventory component is really just taking a look back, taking a reflection, taking actual inventory and bringing awareness to who you've been, how you've been, the habits that you have, the thoughts that you've been having, and just writing it down, acknowledging the things that have been going on with you. Maybe it's struggles that you've been having. Maybe it's things that you're wanting to change. Maybe it's writing down things like wins, writing down things that have been going well. Because when we come to the retreat, when people come to a retreat, it's not because there's always some kind of present crisis or struggle. It's really it's maintenance, it's heart opening, it's reconnecting to ourselves in whatever ways we need. And that can include navigating struggle, but it could also be navigating wins and success. Um, so that inventory is really an exercise in reflection. So from there, after we do our inventory, we'll usually do some kind of alignment or sensing for the present season. So really tuning into, okay, what feels good right now? And this was the focus for the spring retreat in particular is what feels most loving to me right now as I'm making decisions, what feels good. And as we go through the retreat, one of the things we like to do is encourage participants, encourage everyone to lean into what feels good. So again, while we have our itinerary that is creates the structure that we need for the event, we invite everyone to flow within it. Matt likes to use the analogy of jazz music. So it's like we've got the structure and then we're going to flow, see what happens. And that's what we invite everyone to do. It's your time. When you come to a retreat, that is your time. And while we're providing you all of the details, everything we're asking you to do is an invitation. Because sometimes what you really need is not to answer journal prompts on your free time in the afternoon. What you really need is to take a nap. Or what you really need is just to go walk through town without a destination in mind, just to see where you end up. And that's what we really, really encourage people to do. We celebrate people coming into these retreat spaces and we celebrate them asking for what they need, honoring them for what they need, accepting them for saying what they need, and then doing the thing that they need. And that is, I think, one of the most important elements of attending one of our retreats is being seen, held, and supported in asking for what you need, doing what you need, and then coming back together and whatever that is, being okay. I know one of the things that I really admire about anyone who shows up to a retreat. I mean, it's such a courageous move, I think, to sign up for a retreat, especially when you don't know the people. A lot of the people haven't met us yet. The only time we've met them is in the onboarding session, and it's I'm just consistently blown away by people and their courage to just say yes to themselves and say yes to this ground groundbreaking, transformational, vulnerable experience. And so once we're at the retreat, so that piece of like having the courage to be there, but then having the courage to be in conversation, being in the circle with people who at the beginning of the retreat are strangers, really. And then by the end of it, through conversation and through honest assessment of yourself, sharing what you feel comfortable with sharing, not sharing what you don't feel comfortable sharing. By the time we get to the end of it, we've got a group of, of dear friends. You've got people saying, I love you and meaning it. And it's just really, really this powerful thing to witness. And y'all, I've had notes for this and I've just been going. So I'm gonna take a look at these notes here. Um, yeah, all right. We've covered a lot of it. I love that. That's how I feel after these retreats, y'all. And I know that I've been in communication with the people who were at this retreat. We've got a group message. We've been just chatting. It's been so nice to touch base. But coming out of that experience, of course, with the proper support for integration, taking, what who you are and what you've experienced at the retreat, and then integrating that in your day-to-day life, which is such an important component, it has the potential to leave you feeling so empowered, so much more yourself, so much more energized. I know that's how I'm feeling right now. So I was even more grateful for Casey to recommend doing this because this energy is accessible to anyone. It is accessible to anyone. And being in community, even if you're not at a retreat, but finding people who support your dreams, finding people who speak the same languages as you do when it comes to talking about your dreams, talking about the things that you want, talking about the things that bring you to life. That is so, so important in just being more yourself and bringing your gifts into the world and shining this light that you have, that you always have in you. It's just having those people around us, having those support systems is crucial. So I'm grateful to come out of that experience having been supported, right? And I think that Matt and I, when we're creating these experiences, we have for each retreat, we probably have a handful of people that sign up and cancel. And we always trust those cancellations, right? Because one, we celebrate it. Because when someone cancels for coming, they're doing what they need to do for whatever reason, and I really appreciate that. I also believe that we will cross that person's path in the time that we're meant to meet them. And then the people that do end up coming, they're the ones that are meant to be there. They're the ones that are meant to connect. They're the ones that are, for whatever reason, have made this decision, made this commitment, and then are now a part of one another's lives. And it is just this beautiful, beautiful thing to witness and behold. So specifically coming back to, this retreat and what we did, we had Allison Davis there on site cooking for us. Her and Graham Purcell are two people that have been to our retreats to cook for us, and we just love them both dearly. They take such great care of the people who come to our retreats, cooking every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Allison, this time, she had a complete spread of snacks every meal. She created, baked, made some kind of new dessert. It's just, that's one element too, I think that I can't speak enough about, and that is what it feels like just to be taken care of. So many of us are taking care of others in our day-to-day lives, even if it's just taking care of ourselves, right? And I say just very lightly because it is a lot of work to intentionally take care of ourselves in a way that we need to throughout every day. I know I hear a lot of people talking about just what a gift it is to have not have to do dishes, and I'm one, I enjoy doing dishes. Not all the time. Matt helps out with dishes on those moments where I'm like, I don't really feel like doing this right now. But in general, I enjoy doing chores is what I think, most of us would refer to them as, dishes, laundry, things like that. I refer to them as daily disciplines. I use them to help ground me in the space that I'm in. And since we travel a lot, that's a really accessible way for me to just do something normal and ritualistic. Um, but it is nice even with enjoying things like that, right? It is so nice to come into a space and have someone just take care of you, to cook for you, to clean up for you, to prepare drinks for you, which kind of leads me to the next thing. Alex Gale from Black Lodge Coffee Roasters was there on site every morning making lattes, flat whites, and then of course I'm a barista at heart and have recently been a barista at Black Lodge Coffee Roasters. So I was able to make lattes and drinks the rest of the time. Alex left his one of his espresso machines there, which we were so grateful for. And then he came back on the final morning and we did a coffee and tea ceremony together. And it was a really, really powerful experience. People that we collaborate with, this is something that I really enjoy. Matt and I, when we ask someone to come speak at an event or come facilitate something at a retreat, we'll send them the material of, what's happening just so they are aware. And then we don't really do any other kind of planning. We trust the people that are coming in. completely. We want them to come in and be themselves and do their thing. And so getting to experience one of Alex's ceremonies was so special because he knew the general theme and then he just brought it to life in his own way. And it was exactly what it needed to be. And it was the perfect way to start our final day as a group together was doing this ceremony just after the sun had risen in the main gathering area of the Barn Abbey, overlooking the field, the trees. You see the birds flying by, and yeah, it was so special. And that piece, Alex being there for the coffee and the ceremony were surprises. That's the other thing I really love to do is surprise people. There'll never be a surprise like, hey, we're gonna go for a 10-mile hike and surprise. And of course, everything is optional at our retreats, but having some surprise and delight ways for you to feel cared for and loved um, in a space is really top priority for us. So we had that. We also had Cody Ramaklis from Mother Rhythm come in and do a Feldenkrais session, so an awareness through movement session, and a cosmic drumming experience. So he is an incredibly talented musician, and he came in and he hosted a drum circle. So we actually got to sit around and play some music together, which was a really, really powerful way to integrate some of the things that we've been working on, some of the concepts we've been digging into after we'd taken inventory of where we'd been. And then one of the other components that we did to that's the third piece is, we take the inventory, we align with and sense where we are right now, and then we create some kind of action-based have some kind of action-based exercise to kind of bring it all together. So this one in particular was creating a mantra with action. So an affirmation or mantra with an action and commitment with it. Because an affirmation without action is really just a set of words. And so we want the affirmation to be something that you can live. And so having the drumming experience after doing that exercise was so powerful because we were all able to just feel the beat of the music, to literally feel the heartbeat of the music and integrate the affirmations and the commitments that we were making to ourselves through music, through our bodies in a way that allowed us to really just feel it. And that was a really powerful experience. We also I will say we had a visit from the fire department. The fire alarm went off in the middle of it, but it was perfectly timed. I had confessed that I enjoyed the break at the time that it happened, and it makes for a good story to tell, right? Everyone seemed to get a kick out of it, and we just jumped right back in. Cody did an incredible drumming performance for us afterwards. That was like a sound bath, really sound bath, but it was whatever anyone needed it to be. I know some people were kind of up moving around, some people were just laying there in meditation. I know for me, I did a little bit of both. And that's the other thing, Matt and I get to participate in these experiences with everyone just to integrate because we're going through the work and going through the process with people too. And that is such a powerful way for us to be with people as we're guiding, as we're facilitating. Um, I think one of the questions I had on here that I was going to answer is, what did I take away from the retreat as a facilitator? Um, and I think for each retreat, I'm just reminded of the power of community, and specifically the power of community when you're with people who uh, encourage you to be who you are and accept you as you truly are. And it never ceases to blow me away. And I know it deep down, but sometimes, when we're out doing life on our own, things can feel isolating and it can be easy to forget what that connection feels like. And so coming together with these people, and for me, I had the honor of getting to witness all of these people go through the weekend and experience their own version of personal transformation, but they each in their own way helped me to grow and transform in so many ways too. Um, I mean, I had the opportunity to um, literally and metaphorically walk alongside all of these individuals who are being courageous and being vulnerable and who are showing up as their authentic selves, and they're gifting me the ability and the space to be my authentic self in return. And that is something that I do not ever take for granted. Um, and I think my other takeaway, so my other takeaway from the retreat was my affirmation. And the affirmation that I came up with was to celebrate my life. So I know a lot of times affirmations and in different seasons of my life have been, surrounded by themes of changing what hasn't been working or focusing on changing something within myself. It's been very healing focused, which has served me so well. And this one is too, in its own way, right? Being able to celebrate and to acknowledge our wins is such a healing, is such a big part of the healing journey and healing path. But and it just kind of came to me. I actually, we had free time during the retreats, and during our second day in the afternoon, so we're well into the retreat at this point, well over halfway. I had rented a golf cart for everyone to use because y'all, I love driving golf carts. I actually wrote that in my journal. One of our questions is what brings you alive. I wrote golf cart, all caps, shared that with everyone. And so, yeah, I had this golf cart, and me and another participant went into town, found a garden to go sit in and just spend 10 minutes on our affirmation. And I had had some things written down, but whenever I got to the place where I was seated, I saw a quote by Jane Owen, that is, she's a very prominent figure in the New Harmony area. And in this garden, it was Carol's garden, there's a plaque with a quote by Jane Owen that said, "Life is to celebrate." And I've seen that quote, I've seen that plaque, I've been in that garden so many times, and it always strikes me. I always forget about it. And so each time I'm just gratefully reminded, and seeing that sign, I knew instantly that all of the drafts I had from earlier that day were going to remain drafts, because my affirmation is to celebrate my life, to celebrate the things that have happened, to celebrate the tiny wins that I have each day. Sometimes getting out of bed is a huge, huge win. It's a small, huge win that um, deserves to be celebrated. And my commitment is to write that so that I have it to where I can see it at my house and in my van. Everywhere I go, I can see life is to celebrate. And my action that I'm pairing with it is to when each morning I have a journaling practice. So I'll write something that I'm celebrating, and I can do this in the evening too, but it usually happens in the morning for me. But writing something that I'm celebrating and then taking time to, in silence and stillness, think of a time or an experience or think of a moment that reflects that celebration, and letting myself feel that in my body, right? Because that feeling is going to change the way that I feel in the present moment. And it's going to shift how my brain is thinking about these experiences. And it is in the process going to wire me to be ready for celebration. And so that is my practice. I've been doing it nearly every morning since the retreat, and just this morning I did it, and I could actually feel myself in this state of joy and bliss and pride, really, for this thing that I was celebrating. And it's it's such a powerful practice, and I found it. I came into it just by being open, by flowing with the afternoon, by flowing within the structure that had been created, by letting myself go to a place that I hadn't planned to go. And I think that's a concept that can be taken from the retreats too, right? So often we have our lives just planned out, and I am right there with y'all. If you are planners and you have your day planned out to the 30-minute mark, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. So something that I know about myself that I need to do is plan to not have plans. And that's where a lot of magic happens. And these retreat spaces, we strategically have free time because it's so rare to find in our day-to-day life where we just have 3 hours, no commitments, no one to take care of. Only the only thing we have to do is whatever the hell we want to do. And I also know that can be intimidating. I don't know about y'all, but for me, whenever I have, I heard someone coming in, I apologize. Whenever I have just when I go from having a lot of plans, a lot of structure, um, from thing to thing to thing, and then I come into a time where I have a day or a few hours in the day where I don't have anything planned and I don't have anywhere to be, and it's a time when I wouldn't normally be working. Maybe my work is cut up. Maybe I'm in a place where this is just like I can do anything I want. That can be super intimidating for me, because I have so many things I want to do for whenever the time does come that I have extra time, right? And so we help people navigate that as well at the retreat to navigate, okay, how do I make a decision when I can make any decision? And so that's part of the experience as well, helping people learn how to kind of tune into their heart and how to accept that if you don't do anything with your free time because you can't make a decision, that's okay too. Sometimes we just need to do nothing and just kind of bumble around for a little bit and just be in the space that we're in. And that practice of grace and acceptance is something that can carry over into our day-to-day lives as well. So, y'all, I could probably talk about a lot of different other aspects of this retreat. Um, but thank you for being here. Send me a message if any of this resonates with you. If you have a practice, if there's something that you have done that has maybe given you the space to kind of reflect and realign and integrate into your day-to-day life, something that you do that's been helpful to you, let us know. Um, I do have, I think, on our Instagram, and I'll put in the show notes some practices for kind of going through some of the self-inquiry work, of taking inventory, reassessing, realigning, and then taking action. And that way you can go through that on your own. If you're interested in joining one of our upcoming retreats, we would absolutely love to have you. The next one that we have on the calendar at the time of this recording is at Indigo Nature Retreat, our beloved retreat space that we had talked about earlier. It'll be October 9th through 12th, 2025. It's going to be an epic experience. Alex Garcia will be there to do the Unlock Your Superhuman. So there will be guided breathwork, sacred waterfall hike, and cold water immersion. Again, I don't know where the hike will be. I don't know all of the details. So we'll be right there with y'all, just along for the ride, outside of our comfort zone, ready to grow, um, and grow in community with other people and just experience all of the aliveness that life has to offer alongside of each other. So if you're considering joining, if you wanted to um, learn more, we've got information on our website, or please reach out to us. Leave something in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking. If a retreat is not accessible at the moment, and I did want to say too, we have, thanks to the the McMullen O'Connor Family Fund, we do have scholarships available, partial scholarships for our retreat experiences to help cover some of the financial costs and retreat fees. So you can find an application on our website, send us a message if you need any help with that. And if you're not able to make a retreat for whatever reason, the dates don't align, or you just feel it's just not time right now, we know a lot of other really amazing retreat facilitators, coaches, and we love to connect people to the right people for what you need in your life right now. Reach out, let us know. We're happy to connect you, support you. And in the meantime, I invite you to join us in the Elemental community. It's a virtual space for like-hearted people to just support each other and root for one another as they're on their self-discovery, personal growth journey. So we have monthly self-care calls where we gather the last Thursday of each month at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. And Matt and I usually do a little bit of storytelling, and then we share about our what's worked, what hasn't for the past month, and then reset for the coming month. All while taking into consideration that sometimes we don't have a goal, and that's okay too. Um, yeah, I think that's all that I've got. Yeah, if anything came up for you, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. And the door to connect with us is always open if you're needing support right now. We'd love to chat. So Thank you all for being here, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.